determination of the peoples. With the alignment for the common values, it's also beneficial to ask Martin Luther King's question. What are we doing for others? So before we answer this question, I would like to start with the Norwegian political structure and give a briefly information about our political system. Norway is a kingdom which conserves a Christian monarchy regime. Naturally, the parliament holds ruling power, and although it has been a state church, the secularity and the freedom of the belief are practiced values of the daily life. Also, decentralized municipality statement works independently, and they retain their governing power. Norway represents a welcoming society for the immigrants. It has been one of the latest countries which meet immigrants in the Western Europe. Norway protected its homogenical society until the 70s because of its remote location in Europe. Norway is a cautious and religious freedom, and it's a Christian state because it conserves the monarchical regime. However, in early 20th century, the laws concerning the immigrants were regulated for a mono-national society. Although two ethnic groups like Jewish and the Rome people were mentioned at 1914 legal regulations. The law of the 1927 clearly banned the occasion of the Jews and the Rome people into Norway. Although the ban was abolished later on, Jews were still allowed to get in the residence in Norway under the formidable conditions. For instance, a Jewish individual was allowed to become a Norwegian citizen after 20 years of stay. Meanwhile, a German immigrant was allowed to become a citizen in 8 years, and the period of the American Norwegian was only 2 years. Mononational understanding caused problems also for the Sami people. In 1914, some assimilation policies were applied against the Sami minorities. All in all, how come a country which gives an extremely conservative impression in its recent history managed to become one of the top destinations for the minorities? I believe all of you will easily recall the picture of this slide. There has been some news about immigrants who found an alternative route to Norway through Russia. The asylum seekers had to use bicycles to pass the border. The degrees of the temperature was around -20 or 25. So why one does not settle for closer location points such as Germany, or France, Netherlands, but instead tries to pass Russian border with bikes? What makes Norway so different than the others? I think the answer is hidden in welfare, security, and social state attributes of the country. The immigrants feel the protective arms of the social state, and hence, Norway is one of the most desired countries among the immigrants. The first generation in Norway had difficulties to employ it as skilled workers until mid-90s. This obstacle was caused by the several reasons. One, limited industrial development in the country, because country is focused in oil and limited sectors. Second, Norwegian financial crisis late in 80s, and the academic equivalency issues. After the millennium, the society exposed to the international arena much more. Bureaucratic arrangements, rising population of elderly people, lack of skilled workers in certain sectors helped the immigrants locate a more productive and significant role for the society. Involving developments in the business world created an impact on the political platform. Until this point, our timeline, formal political discussions were predominantly focused on integration and asylum regulations. As a result of these, today's discussions also aim to cover more challenging needs of the immigrants. Certainly, we need some numbers to be able to analyze the minority contribution in politics. The graph indicates the participation rate of immigrant individuals in the last general election from 2013. The top participant immigrants are from Western industrial countries like Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. If you see that, it's the first three are those. The lowest ratio of the voters are from the developing countries. In the bottom is Kosovo, Macedonia, and Croatia. The ratio does not differ much of between local or general elections. So the general elections also almost the same rates we had. For instance, in Oslo, would have received around 28,000 more votes in the last municipal elections if the immigrants had the same turnout as the general population. How would the city's council set out then? According to studies, one of the reasons of the low participation is some immigrants don't have election tradition in their home countries. But most likely, the true reasons are hidden under the lack of interest in the political discussions and lack of belief to make a change in daily political life. Another major factor is related to the integration issues. Although the regulations of the state encourage the minorities to participate in politics with the cooperation of the NGOs, many immigrants still do not see themselves as a part of the society. They have more interest in the political discussions in their home country. Most of the immigrants watch local televisions and newspapers from their own country than the Norwegian television or the newspapers. To increase the contribution ratio, an important duty is the hands of the media organizations. Immigrant writers should be given more chances while publishing the commentary articles. Such methods will encourage the immigrants have their say in politics, and the outcome will be more votes in the elections. Another reason is linked to the lack of productivity of the immigrants in the society. This issue gives a limited representation, change of the immigrants in political life. Let's go to the elected. Unfortunately, the ratio of the immigrants voters are somehow in the parallel with the elected immigrant ratio. We can reference to the last local elections once more. For instance, the results indicate the major political parties in Norway decided to reduce the number of the immigrants candidates in their last list. This is some of the ads from the newspaper. This is me. For example, the Labour Party significantly and deliberately reduced the number of the immigrant background candidates in their lists. Certainly, unfortunate and the consecutive developments had a major effect on this decision, such as Charlie Hebdo massacre, Syrian asylum crisis, and the rising radical Islam terror in Europe. In the last election, if you see that the first added here, we had election before that. Actually, we had many minorities who get into the city council, also the assembly, National Assembly. But because of the developments in the Europe, we had actually very few minorities this time, which has been elected. We have no Turkish origin backgrounds represented anymore at the moment. I hope this will change. Also, we had some Africans before, so they are also not represented anymore. There's only one deputy is left. So this is a negative development also in Norway in that sense. Even though the political parties reduced the number of the immigrants candidates because of the several reasons, the head of the state encourages the integration of the minorities in every manner. As a recent example, the diversity speech of King Harold V was a remarkable, positively surprising act. I would like to share his speech first with you, so I will go back to my speech later on. If I can make it start.
Nordmenn nordlendinger, trøndere, sørlendinger og folk fra alle andre regioner. Nordmenn også innvandret fra Afghanistan, Pakistan og Polen, Sverige, Somalia og Syria. Det ikke alltid så lett å si hvor vi fra, hvilken nasjonalitet vi tilhører. Det vi kaller hjem der hjertet vårt og det kan ikke alltid plasseres innenfor landegrenser. Nordmenn jenter som glad i jenter, gutter som glad i gutter, og jenter og gutter som glad i hverandre. Nordmenn tror på Gud, Allah, altet og ingenting. Nordmenn liker Grieg, Kygo, Hellbillies og Kari Bremnes. Med andre ord, Norge dere. Norge oss. Mitt største håp for Norge at vi skal klare å ta vare på hverandre. At vi skal bygge dette landet videre på tillit, fellesskap og raushet.
I think this was a great speech according to the development which happens in the rest of the Europe. So the royal family also supports some of the role model organizations such as Leadership Foundation. The Håkon, the Crown Prince of Norway, participates in top 10 awards ceremonies. Leadership Foundation every year qualifies 10 immigrants who proved